Hello, hello! It has been a minute, but I am back. So welcome, listeners old and new, to the Just Breathe podcast, where I'll be talking all things breathing to help empower you guys to use the power of your breath to harness your bodies and minds. My name is Georgie. I'm a master breathwork coach, yoga teacher, and physiotherapist in training with an absolute passion for women's health. I am a huge advocate to get women to really be heard in the health arena and to get those topics that are so often taboo talked about. And that's exactly what we'll be doing today. Before I introduce today's guest, I just want to catch you all up on what's been going on. So I did take a break from the podcast over the summer because I was gallivanting around the country, teaching at a bunch of festivals. It was so wonderful to be able to hold space in person, especially after those 2 years of pandemic that we finally seem to be coming out of. And I even had some listeners of the show coming up to me in person, introducing themselves, and it was so wonderful to make that in-person connection. When people get together and breathe, especially when we're all breathing at the same rhythm, in the same space, magic happens. It's just something that I cannot even put into words. But wow, it was really, really incredible. So super grateful to have been able to teach. In other news, I am the new breathwork ambassador for Jessica Ennis Hill's app, Jenis. It is a wonderful app to help women live more cyclically. You're able to use it to track your cycle and also get recommendations for workouts, yoga, and most recently breathwork by yours truly, in accordance with where you are in your cycle. It's a really, really clever app, and you can work out with Jessica Ennis Hill and Lena Nielsen, which is pretty incredible. So really, really grateful to be on the team there. Do go check out Jenis. It's an amazing, amazing app, and there's some really exciting plans for it in the pipeline. So do watch out for those. Okay, on to today's guest. So in today's episode, I have the absolute privilege of chatting to a really powerful voice in the women's health arena. Zora calls herself an age disruptor. She's a gerontologist, a nomad, and podcast host of the Hack My Age podcast, focusing on biohacking for women over 50. Zora is on an absolute mission to disrupt against ageist stereotypes. So women in their 50s, 60s, and 70s no longer need to say phrases like 60 is the new 40. Zora wants to really show just how amazing being 60 and beyond can feel like. For those who don't know, a gerontologist is someone who studies aging from a biological, sociological, and psychological perspective. So someone like Zora will look at the whole life course rather than just focusing on something like diet and exercise. She'll look at experiences that occur during a whole lifetime and see how it affects the aging process. We had a really incredible conversation, especially around women's health and how to fly through the menopause rather than seeing it as this time of degeneration, really making it a powerful transition and knowing that it is more of a second wind of life, this opportunity to blossom and to reinvent yourself rather than to degenerate in some way or age or feel as if you are losing a part of yourself. And Zora is such a powerful person and advocate of lifting women up to celebrate the aging process. It was a really wonderful conversation that will 100% leave you feeling empowered and inspired to go out there and do some further reading yourself. Zora's knowledge is absolutely world class, and I walked away from the conversation feeling just so enlightened and so excited actually about the future and the future of women, knowing that there's people like Zora doing the work that she's doing. Before we jump into the episode, just a little bit of housekeeping. Please do go right ahead and like, share, and subscribe to the Just Breathe podcast. If you enjoy this episode, go ahead and leave a comment and a 5-star rating. It really helps to build that breathing community. The more people talking about the breath and empowerment and taking autonomy over their own health and well-being, the better. If you know someone who you think could be uplifted by this episode, do go ahead and send it their way. Without further ado, let's jump right into today's episode. This is episode 61 of Just Breathe with Zora. Zora, how's it going?
Hey, Georgie, going really, really well. I'm in Portugal now, so in the same time zone as you.
Oh, good. It's awesome to have you on the podcast. I've been trying to get you on for so long, and I'm so excited that it's finally aligned for us to get chatting. You are doing some important stuff in the world of biohacking, right?
Yeah, no, it's very, very exciting. There's in the world of biohacking, there's always so much change, and it's like lightning speed. So what I say today may, not apply tomorrow, or we'll have some new things to add on to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you don't mind, can we actually start with number one? What is biohacking to you? Because I know the word actually nowadays, it's been quite commercialized. It gets thrown around a lot. So what is biohacking to you, and how did you get into it? What sort of propelled you into becoming so detailed about those different aspects of your health?
Well, yeah, biohacking can mean so many things to so many different people. So for me, it really refers to a group of people called biohackers who are doing their own experiments on their own bodies. And that's it. Basically, they take some kind of exterior element, they apply it to themselves, they measure and they assess, and then they decide if this is going to work for them or not. And I really like this because as a health coach all my life, I mean, most of my life was there to try to figure out people's health issues. And I realized it's just an N of one. We can't have one diet fits all kind of thing. And that's what biohackers do. And we really assess things rather than go, I'll take vitamin C. What happens? I don't know. We just trust it. But no, we measure through our Oura rings or biohacking devices like a BioStrap, or we log things down on a piece of paper. We look at the effects, even though it's not, a scientific study. We can't rule out every single factor, but we get a clue of whether a certain hack like breath work or ice bathing or some new supplement is working for us or not. So I really like the biohacking world, which unfortunately I think some people think it's only about the hacks, the supplements, or the PRP injections, or some new peptide. And yes, those are all amazing and they all work, but I look at it like a pyramid. So there's the bottom of the pyramid, which we all know needs to be done. It's the diet, the exercise, the sleep management, the stress management. Once those are in place, then yes, these are miracles. These are amazing things to stack on top of it. But I think, unfortunately, a lot of people just want to go to the top tiers of the pyramid. The middle one is, some things like supplements where you don't really need a doctor's guidance. And then the very tip of it would be like a PRP injection where you do need a doctor to be doing these things for you. So a lot of people just want to skip that foundation. And unfortunately, they don't these hacks don't really work, or they don't work as well if you don't have this solid foundation at the bottom. So for me, biohacking is sort of all encompassing. It's a holistic approach to things, not just one targeted solution.
Absolutely. And that's so interesting when you're talking about the foundation, because exactly the same. And as a breath practitioner yourself, that, how foundational the breath is. It's the most important biological function we have. But unfortunately, functional breathing is very unsexy. And actually, a lot of these foundational bits
can be a little bland. They can be a little unsexy, a little just rinse, wash, repeat. And I love your method there of assess, analyze, and guide, and that just constant sort of rerouting and sort of just checking in on the roadmap. Which way are we turning today? But I think we do live in this world of fix me, outsourcing our health, and then quick fixes as well, that everything should be instant and everything should happen quickly. Otherwise, it's not working. And, you know, that's the consumer world has highly influenced that. And I think almost the biohacking world is bringing us back to our roots, back to basics, to, no, let's look inwards. Let's look into our own bodies, because all the answers are in there. We don't need to outsource our health unless, you know, your leg is falling off. We should always mention that, by the way, that whenever we're talking about biohacking, whenever we're talking about preventative medicine, that this is not a talk against the NHS in the UK or any sort of hospitals, medical doctors. If my arm is falling off or I'm in a car crash, I want all the drugs they can give me. But in any other instance, I want to be accessing these biohacking tools. Is that along the right lines, Zora?
Yeah, but I also would say that you can use biohacks in conjunction with allopathic medicine or your doctor's recommendations for whatever it is to support whatever that may be. I mean, it was very interesting. I had a course with Dr. Walter Longo, who's very famous for his studies on the fasting mimicking diet, and he does all these animal models with caloric restriction and what he's been finding was very interesting. What he showed us was the studies that were done on mice and actually and eventually adults, humans as well, where they would take, make these mice have cancer. Then they would give them either caloric restriction or I think it was a 24-hour fast, to be honest. I think it was a 24-hour fast, and then see the outcomes if the tumors grow back or not. And the other one was with a drug, the cancer chemotherapy. And then there was one with a combination of chemotherapy and the 24-hour fast. And the outcomes were very interesting. When you had just the chemotherapy, the tumors would go away, but then they would come back. And then with the 24-hour fast, the tumors went away, but then they would come back. So that was kind of a disappointment, I think, on his side. But then when he did a combination of the 24-hour fast with the chemotherapy, the tumors went away and they wouldn't come back. And that's a great example of how you can use a hack, or, you know, in this case, 24-hour fast with traditional drugs, right? Chemotherapy.
Elevate, right?
Mm-hmm. So I don't see why not using a lot of other techniques, biohacking techniques, in conjunction with whatever it is that your doctor is doing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, speaking of, you know, you're not just a biohacker, right? You've also recently qualified as a gerontologist. Did I say that right?
Yes, a gerontologist. Yes, gerontology is the study of aging and longevity, but we look at it from not only a biological perspective, which is what a lot of biohackers do, as looking at the data and how our biology is reacting, but we look at aging from a sociological and a psychological perspective as well. So we know that the outcomes of the diseases of aging, you know, are very much linked to not only your genetics, but your whole life course experience. You know, did you have childhood trauma? Do you have kind of stressors you have in life? What is your social economic status? And so many other factors play into aging and longevity and disease outcomes, and most people go, it's just diet and exercise. No, it's a lot more than that.
Yeah. And, you know, I'm so excited by the fact that, you know, biohacking is really coming into the forefront, and many doctors actually are opening themselves to the world of biohacking as well, that we're getting this beautiful sort of partnership in that we're really looking at the preventative side, but also the variables that all come together. Like you said, the experience. What was your experience through this course of your life, and how could you manage maybe your stress or something better? For example, using breath work and other tools that can actually prevent aging. I'd love to go into that, actually, the effect of stress on longevity and aging, and just talk a little bit about those effects, because I think it's often something we don't always consider. It's coming into the literature much more now, but a lot of people are still not putting two and two together. In that, of course, even with some of these autoimmune diseases we see, it says cause unknown. We all know the cause is stress, but you can't really pin that term down in the scientific literature. So in your, sorry, my watch keeps beeping. In your experience, what is the that connection between stress and aging and longevity?
I'm so glad you mentioned this. One of the classes I took was called the Mind-Body Connection. And this, I studied at USC, the University of Southern California. This is a very research-based university. So there's no fluffing around with woo-woo stuff, right? And so when I saw that in the curriculum, I was like, that is super interesting. So it was a great course. We had somebody teach us the physiology and someone teaching us the psychology. And it was all about stress and the impact of stress on aging and longevity. So it's a huge, huge factor. And we learned a lot about the HPA axis and how, genetics can pass on from a Holocaust survivor to a baby that's born, disrupted HPA axis. Not that it's not irreversible, but you're already born at a disadvantage. But those stressors and how it impacts your hormones and creates inflammation. It's this chronic low-grade inflammation that's causing a lot of these diseases. And so without us really knowing, because very often we live with stress and we think, oh, it's just normal, right? That's for us just normal, but in fact, it really isn't. And so it really resonates with a lot of people I've been interviewing in my podcast, where they're researchers and doctors, and when Amy talking about the latest peptide, how great it is and can reverse aging, or all these other great techniques. But whenever I ask, so in your studies, what is the biggest impact on biological age or just these diseases? And nearly all of them say stress. It's stress. I mean, no super peptide will be able to save you if you don't manage that stress. And it just does have that big of an impact. And I really I'm so glad I studied with you with the Oxygen Advantage breathwork classes, because I saw this myself with one of my clients and how stress was impacting her health, and she had cancer and all this pain, and oh my gosh, it was unbelievable. And so when we were able to remove that stress, that worry about the cancer, or worry about her health, the pain, just pain management itself, she just got better and better and better. And she's perfectly fine today. But I saw firsthand how powerful our breath is and how breath work can really help. The only thing I was a little bit disappointed with in my studies was that breath work or breathing was not talked a lot about the way I wanted to hear it. I mean, they mentioned yoga and mindfulness and gratitude. Music was also very interesting. A lot of these great Tai Chi, wonderful things that can lower our stress or manage the stress. But I think breathwork probably just doesn't, it's still being researched. I think we still have a lot of it, but for some reason it hadn't made the cut. And I kept complaining about that. So hopefully that will come into the curriculum very soon, because I really think it has a huge impact on people's health and wellness.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy in that it is the direct bridge to the autonomic nervous system. And if our endocrine system, which anyone that doesn't know listening, is that house of hormones that sort of, it's almost like the dictator of what are we going to release in this moment, working together with the nervous system, literally dictating how you experience what you experience. Because me and you could experience exactly the same thing, but see it in two completely different ways, depending on that hormonal cocktail we're experiencing. And in a moment, I'm sure we will go on to talk about the subject of perimenopause and menopause and that whole new cocktail of hormones as well, because I know you're doing an amazing program for women over 50. But just going back to the basics, if breath is the bridge to hack into that nervous system to then influence the endocrine system, why on earth wouldn't we use it? It's free, it's there, you don't have to ingest anything, It's almost too simple. In my experience of teaching, I found that with some people, especially in this very overstimulating modern world, it's dismissed because of its simplicity, that it's that, it's just that. I just need to breathe less.
Yeah.
Nothing else. Nope. You're trying too hard at breathing less. Literally just breathe less. That's it. You know, and it takes a long time, and it can be a very humbling journey for people to realize. I've had people cry to me to say, I think in 30, 40 years, I've never taken a real deep breath.
Wow.
Like I've lived every experience from a place of stress. And it can be this awakening of, have I really lived at all in those years? If I've just been in a adrenalized state of fight or flight, and it can be incredibly emotional, but it's also beautiful because it's an awakening where you can move forward, whether you're 30, 40, or 80, and actually start experiencing as a 5-year-old would, you know, from this place of, I am not my experience or my circumstances. I'm just here and I'm just experiencing. And I've gone off on a bit of a tangent, but the nervous system, endocrine system, the breath is the bridge, super, super important. But you're talking about hormones here. And I want to move on a little bit to that talk about hormones. And let's get specific with the aging woman, because we're both women here. We've off camera had a lot of conversations about how important women's health needs to be in the health optimization arena right now. You know, the percentages are dire of how many studies are focused on women in relation to men. You know, it's a ratio of ridiculous quantities in the women being the lesser. And hopefully that is starting to change. But I know there's a lot of confused, lost menopausal women out there that are just seeking answers as to what is happening to me. And like you said, stress, you know, you're going into menopause, you're probably terrified of aging anyway. And if you're stressed about how you're going into menopause, you're going to age quicker, right?
Yeah. Exactly. You know, you're absolutely right. Endocrine system is, you know, absolutely tied to, you know, aging and menopause and our breath as well. And one thing I didn't mention about the biohacking circle as well is very often these people are pretty healthy already, and they're looking to optimize their health. Right. So that's something to definitely mention. But when it comes to the stress and the hormones, I mean, we've got cortisol is the stress hormone, right? And a lot of us already know about. And that's kind of a master regulator for all the other hormones. And so if that's off, then it's like this, you know, your hormones like a symphony, right? There's one bad violinist, like everyone hears it. It all goes wrong. So we really want to focus on if that's the master regulator, then let's fix it. Let's make sure it's in harmony with all the other hormones. And breath work is just one modality to manage that. But it's something that is so often neglected, just again, because we think it's normal. We think it's normal to be in this fight or flight mode. But one thing a biohacker would do is say, well, let's test our hormones. Like, let's see where we're at. We know from the literature that women generally age slower than men until the menopause. And then once we hit menopause, we bypass them and we start aging. It's accelerated aging when we lose our estrogen and progesterone and testosterone. It's all kind of just leaking away. So it's really important that we keep our hormones balanced is one thing. You know, it's not just like, oh, let's take estrogen and done. No, it's not about increasing that, or it's about making sure estrogen's in balance with progesterone. And there's many ways to do it. So, you know, breathing will help lower those cortisol levels. It'll help manage them as well. When you get to the age of 50 or more, you have already had that chronic cortisol. You've gone through a lot of experiences in life that have, you know, raised this, unless you've lived like I don't know, on a mountain or something, or somewhere, I don't know. Even then you'd probably be, there's probably stressors, but we live these stressful lives, especially in the modern world. And even in the non-modern world, you're still worried about your finances and your health and all that. So it's not, just for the modern people. It is one of these things that everyone around the world is experiencing. So managing that cortisol, managing the stress is not going to go away. And stress is actually a good thing, right? I mean, we need this stress response. It's our stress. It's how we respond to the stress. That's really the key factor, and to be able to manage that. So by managing our breath is just one way, or managing our stress, then we can actually age slower and live a longer life, but in a good condition, because we want to talk about health span. Lifespan, we got that. Modern medicine is figured that out. We can live a long life, but usually it's those 20, 30 years at the end of your life that kind of sucks. That's where we're on diabetes medication, heart medication, we're dealing, we're worried about dementia, and we're losing our minds, and all this stuff just happens, but we have to live with it for 20, 30 years. And that's not normal. That's maybe common, but it's not normal aging. So that's what we call health span. We want to extend our health span. Yeah. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I love that. Expanding your health span. That's so beautiful. And, I think as well, what just popped into my mind is the term stressor. And actually how a lot of people associate that with a negative connotation, whereas actually a stressor is simply a state of arousal, in that being, say, hyped up because something really great happened. It's great, but it's still a stressor. You still go into an elevated state. And I sort of explain the autonomic nervous system. I see it as a seesaw. And many people think, right, it's either this, everyone uses the saber-toothed tiger example when they're explaining it, right, with the fight or flight or the rest and digest. And they're like, it's one or the other. And it's not at all. It's just which branch is dominant. And this. And it's that thing of that a lot of people say, but I'm perfectly happy. And it's like, sure. But are you living in a hyperactive state? Are you always wired? Because even in that state, you're inhibiting that optimal cocktail of hormones, right? That's going to help you age gracefully. And especially as well, you mentioned that decline of estrogen that happens with the menopause. And is it true that estrogen as well is quite a active serotonin uptaker? It's quite linked with serotonin?
Well, actually, when I think about hormones putting us in a more relaxed state, it's progesterone. Progesterone is the calm, relaxing, makes us chill out. It's our buddy that wants us to hang around, and we love progesterone. So I'm not a hormone expert, but I know that progesterone creams, for example, women who are on hormonal therapy, they would take it at night, because it helps them sleep. It makes them a little drowsy, and you'd want to generally use that. So progesterone is the one that we really don't want to lose. Well, we don't want to lose any of them, but
no, of course. I just remember reading somewhere with the link between estrogen and serotonin uptake, which makes sense with ovulation. With obviously, I work with menstruating women a lot in the cycle with ovulation. We call estrogen the Beyonce hormone. Like your face literally becomes more symmetrical. Your skin is glowing. It induces confidence, which is very interesting when we're talking about menopause, because if that with progesterone is declining, so then your Beyonce is fading, so you don't feel as confident naturally or as social, and your chill out, cuddle me, I'm calm and cushy hormone is also declining. Like, what do you do? It's literally a cocktail of stress. It's there sort of. No wonder women get stressed in this phase. And it's almost like, how could we not have a biohacking intervention to actually combat that and allow women to go about things that are important, like exercise, also a stressor, by the way, from a conscious place of intention. I'd love, what's your experience in terms of exercising, but from a biohacker's perspective, because you must approach it from quite a different way to someone just heading to the gym, right?
Oh yeah. Exercise is one of the best things for aging and longevity. It's it's one of those magic bullets, I have to say. But when it comes to women over 50, we got to hack it a little differently, right? When we were younger, because exercise is a stressor and it increases our cortisol. So, when I'm talking about, HIIT training or running or just smashing it at the gym, lifting heavy things, these kinds of stuff. I'm not talking about yoga exercise. Okay. Yoga is lowering the cortisol, which is good. So, but it's not to say that exercise is bad, just because it raises cortisol. It just needs to be a little bit modified. If you were a marathon runner or, you just love running for hours and hours, biking for hours and hours, that's your passion, maybe you're an athlete, you just can't get away with it as much as when we were younger. So because we have this elevated cortisol levels. So you just would have to tone it down, maybe do 30 minutes of it, or instead of doing it 5 days a week, you do it 2 or 3 times a week, and give your body time to repair and recover. It takes a little longer for us now to recover than when we were younger. So that's how we got to modify a little bit things and listen to our bodies. And actually, you are also really, really in tune with training according to your cycle. So, this is something I'd love all women to learn about, is because you can learn how to hit your PRs on the first day of your period, right? It's just working with your body and knowing it. That's the advantage. And so even if you're in menopause, you've lost all your hormones, or you're on hormone replacement therapy, whatever it is, it's not a death sentence. We can exercise and keep going and start. I know people who decide to do Ironman, when they after menopause. It's unbelievable. There shouldn't be any slowing down because of aging, or you think you've hit menopause. And I think this is one of the biggest, really big thing that influences aging, if you're aging faster or slower, is what is the story you're telling yourself? These ageist stereotypes. You're thinking, oh, I'm getting tired, I must be getting old. And then you embrace and embody that ageist stereotype. And so you literally age faster because you accept that story. And what I want to be doing with my podcast, with all my work, is to disrupt those ageist stereotypes. There are plenty of people in the world who are aging slowly, but are smashing it. They're active, they're living their lives, they look great. And we always look at those people as, oh, that's an exception. And no, it's not an exception. we just don't see it enough in the media. We don't see it enough in TV shows and movies. And so really we need to get more of those healthy older adults in front of our faces to change that story, so that we don't embody this slowing down. I really think that menopause is the time to speed up.
Really? Yeah. A lot of people call it, like a rebirthing and like a time where you can reinvent yourself. Often those responsibilities of parenthood are sort of passing or have passed, and you have this new opportunity to evolve and fly. And it can be absolutely immense if you decide to take on that narrative. Because of course, many people take on the opposing, that everyone's gone, I'm lonely, there's nothing. Whereas actually there's so much opportunity in space, in empty space, right? Empty space means infinite possibility. And I think there's a beauty in that. And I know you're working with women and planning to work with women over 50 on a special program. So I really want to make sure we have adequate time to delve into what your program entails and why women can really benefit this over 50. Because I know there's going to be a lot of them listening that think, oh, that's me. I'm really resonate with everything that's being said on this podcast episode, that is crying out for a bit of hand-holding right now and a bit of just guidance as to, hey, you're not crazy. It's not all in your head. Here's what you need to do.
Yeah, no, I have to say one of the biggest complaints people have when they go to the doctor when they're over 50 is fatigue and pain. So we need to combat that, because that just sort of, if you don't and you accept it and you embody it, just sends you on this spiral of accelerated aging. So if we can hack the energy we can hack so many other things in our lives that we may be struggling with, trying to get to the gym or trying to eat healthy and trying to do so many other things that we'd love to do, but we just can't because we have no energy. So I really want to focus on that and helping women get that energy back so they can do whatever you want. And so the program consists of videos that you go through week by week. It's a 4-week program. And I will also be inviting speakers who are experts in hormones, because if I don't talk about hormones to women over 50, then, that would be ridiculous. So we do look at the root causes of fatigue. What is it that could be bringing you down or robbing you of your energy? And it could be something just as simple as being around negative people. Like, those people can suck the life out of you, right? And sometimes you got to make these choices of removing these people from your life or managing and getting around with it. So I try to give things other than like, oh, let's just take, some caffeine or something to boost your energy. I don't want to be doing that. I want to get to the root cause of a problem. So when we can get to the root cause of the problem, well, then you've solved the problem. But I'll give a lot of hacks along the way to support that journey, because sometimes, you think, oh, it's the medication I'm taking, or it's just, I'm not getting enough sleep, or, and maybe it's not that, but you keep trying it. So I want to be able to support with other lifestyle hacks and little things that can get you through the journey so that you still stay motivated to find that root cause. And then we have a bit of homework, and we have some meetings once a week where, with Q&A and help people on that journey, see what worked, what didn't work, and then get them to a point where they just completely rebooted their energy.
Perfect. So they can complete the videos at a time that suits them. And then they also have the meetup Q&A as well, where they get live time with you to be able to sort of really just fish out any confusions or anything they don't understand or anything that they want to apply more so. And so the goal, or not the goal, maybe that's the wrong word, the sort of pinnacle focus is energy optimization.
Yeah. Yes.
Amazing.
Definitely. Let's not be tired anymore. Let's get rid of that.
Yeah. Energy optimization in pursuit of effective aging and longevity.
Yeah. And then as a byproduct, I mean, you will look better, you'll feel better, you get good body composition, you get slower aging, your wrinkles will probably fade, all these things, or at least they appear to. It's just so many things, One thing that is super interesting when people don't really think about in terms of wrinkles is, stress. Stress is going to accelerate those wrinkles. When just look at yourself when you're by accident have your camera on your phone and your eyes are all tweaked because you're stressed writing some message, right? So you just, there's so many great byproducts of just getting your energy back that, I don't want it to make, I don't want to have the focus, oh, let's lose 10 pounds, right? Because that's not the objective, but that may be just a byproduct.
Yeah, completely. And, it's so brilliant that you're making the focus energy, because stress and that state of incoherent fight or flight, it drains your energy. And we all know this, when you've had a stressful day, you get to the end of the day and everyone reaches for whatever that self-soother is. I need a glass of wine. I need this. I need that. I need sugar. I need caffeine. I need whatever unhealthy habit you want to name. There's a long, long list, and often you don't feel too great after doing it either. Yeah. And, it's to be able to break free of that constant energy drainage is that there's nothing more freeing. And, even talking about breath work, that if you feel unmotivated, lethargic, you can learn the breath work, but will you do it? Will you feel motivated to do it? Will you feel motivated to make better food choices, to socialize, like you said, with those people that give you energy rather than drain your energy? No. Mm-hmm. So it really is a foundational focus, and something that's really, really important, and probably something that really resonates with a lot of women over 50 listening right now that are thinking, do you know what? Yeah, I'm sick of feeling fatigued. I want to do all these things, but I have no motivation, no energy to do it. And it is like being robbed of time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, think about what we learned with our training is we teach people how to oxygenate their blood. I mean, if you're getting more oxygen in the bloodstream, you're getting more nutrients to the cells. You're repairing things better. Everything just functions better when you have that. So why wouldn't you learn how to breathe functionally, right? And that's what you and I do, is we teach people how to breathe every second of the day, not just that 1 hour of yoga or something. This is, to me, it's again foundational, and that's what I'll be teaching people in the program as well, how to use your breath for more energy. And again, the byproduct is, well, you're probably absorbing your nutrients better, and all the foods that you're eating are not going to waste, and you're actually functioning a lot better.
Yeah, a great doctor said to me once, if you do skip that foundational process and go straight to supplements, that is the most expensive pee or poo you will ever have, yep. Because it will come straight out the other end. And it resonated so much because, again, it's that, basic, sometimes unsexy, rinse, wash, repeat foundational stuff that you do need a course for, because sometimes will you be motivated to start something like that on your own? Maybe not, but with someone with your energy and your kind of light guiding it, then you are motivated. There's something about being in a community of people doing the same thing too, right? Mm-hmm. That just elevates you to just go that extra step, even if you're sort of like, oh, I don't know if I can today. If someone else is showing up, or a group of like-minded people are showing up, you're more likely to take that next step.
Absolutely. And when it comes to biohacking and the breath, and you mentioned, heart rate variability and your stress response, one thing that biohackers love to do, and what I teach in the program as well, is how to use our devices, right? Ultimately, we want to be able to dial into our body and understand it and feel good. But what biohackers do are use some of these gadgets to get data and kind of confirm those feelings, right? Okay, yeah, you're right. I did feel like this. And look at this. My HRV just shot through the roof with 3 minutes of breath work. If you're not there yet, you're not dialed in yet, it's sometimes really helpful to see a number, to see a graph, and to that keeps you motivated. Not that any of these gadgets are, perfect science, they're not super accurate, but we look at trends, we look at things. And if that can motivate you to stick with a program, then you got more power to you.
Yeah, 100%. That balance of, you're not defined by the data, but the data can be such a good stick in the roadmap to which way you're going to turn next. Mm-hmm. So where can women sign up for this course? Can they sign up for it yet?
Yes, well, we can go to hackmyage.com, and I've got a wait list. So it's not out yet, but you will be on a list to be notified first, and you'll get 10% off just for signing up. There, you don't have to pay or anything like that. It's just putting your name on a list so I can reach out to you when it's ready.
That's so exciting. And so people as well can find you on Instagram, the same name, right? Hack My Age.
Yeah, always Hack My Age. Sometimes people can't remember that. If they can remember Zora the Explorer, that's another way to find me. I'm all over internet that way as well. But the first page of hackmyage.com will have the sign up list for the Energy Reboot program.
Perfect. Time to reboot your energy and take back control of your health, right? That's so exciting. Well, it's been a glorious conversation. As always, I feel inspired, and I definitely feel like I know a couple women I need to send the course to say, hey, go reboot your energy, So it's really exciting and really important what you're doing. Is there anything else you want to finish off with? Something you maybe say to those women now that are maybe on the fence of like, oh, I've never invested in a program before, I've never been coached before. What would you say to those women?
Oh, you've got really nothing to lose. You're going to learn so much. And I always think knowledge is power, right? And just do it. I mean, honestly, anything you do, whether it's the program or some new technique, just try it. Be your own N of one experiment, but look at the data, assess. If you're not assessing, you're just guessing, right? Try to track, even if it's a piece of paper, with how you feel, rate a number 1 to 10, assess something, whatever it is that you're doing, and give it a good go. Don't just go 1 or 2 days and think, oh, it's not working for me. Give it several weeks to months, depending on what it is that you're doing, because it takes time. Don't ever give up. And there's always an answer for anything. Don't accept, oh, I'm just getting old, or this is aging. Do not accept that. There is always a solution. Don't ever give up looking for that.
Super inspiring. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Zora. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too. What's up?